And we're on. Fabio Zonin. Thanks for being on Fitness and Consciousness.
Well, my pleasure being here. So excited about it. And I just found out that you and I have met before at the Dome of Strength a few years ago, even if we didn't have a chance to talk before, right? So that here's a chance.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I walked into the hotel, I saw you at the check-in. I was like, I bet he's a StrongFirst dude. And I didn't know that you were already an instructor. I didn't know who you were, but I could just tell that you must be there for the same thing. And so that was cool to like end up seeing you the next day, and it ended up being your not just I think you were like a master instructor at the time. Was that?
I was one of the masters, yeah, at level one there. I think you were not. He was not in my team, but I was co-leading the cert together with my colleagues. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I was on Cole Summers' team.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Awesome guy.
Yeah, yeah, he's very cool. So how did you find out about Pavel to begin with? Because you were back, like you had your RKC before then, right?
Yes, I'm back from the RKC times. And I followed Pavel when he left the RKC. And this is interesting. I think I had the first ever StrongFirst tattoo in the world, because I knew that StrongFirst was going to be announced that specific day. And in the morning, I went and had my shield tattooed on my shin. So I'm there from the very beginning of StrongFirst, even though there are several colleagues that have been much longer with me than me with Pavel, back in the RKC times. And, I discovered about Pavel by pure chance. And I'm sorry, this is not breaking news because I said this already during another podcast, but actually, someone went to the US and gave me brought back from the US, the Russian Kettlebell Challenge book. And I said, this is interesting stuff, really cool. So I just opened the book, and I saw this guy, and in the cover, Pavel, and he was, holding this kettlebell. I didn't know what it was, by the way. And of course, at the time, I was deep into bodybuilding. And so I thought, that's not a bodybuilder. This is not about bodybuilding. What is this cannonball? We don't have we don't have those here. So I said, I'll read it one day. And I just put it in a drawer there. So it stayed there for a year or so. Until someone here in Italy translated and published in Italian another book by Pavel, which was Beyond Bodybuilding. And now the new edition has some pictures on the cover, but the old edition had this black cover with just, Beyond Bodybuilding by Pavel. So I bought this book because it was about bodybuilding. So I got this book and started reading it. And I did not realize at the time that that book was wrote by the same guy of the book I had in my drawer, right? So I read this book, and I was kind of surprised because everything was said and written in that book was pretty much the opposite on everything we did in bodybuilding up to then. And, I was also a teacher for the Italian Federation of Fitness, so I was teaching principles that did not match with what I was reading in the book. However, everything was written in that book did make lots of sense to me. So I started playing with it, trying some plans, trying some exercises. I recall exercises such like a renegade row and exercises like that. I said, this stuff is awesome. And so I started kind of changing my way of training according to the book. And then I found out that Pavel was coming in Italy for a seminar. So I attended a seminar. I met Pavel, and then since then I got stuck with him. And I kind of registered for the RKC right away. And there was none in Italy, of course. I was one of the first Italian RKCs. There was one in Hungary at the time. Like 2 months later, the seminar. So I wasn't prepared, because that seminar, by the way, was about Beyond Bodybuilding. So the only thing that was covered with kettlebell was the swing, and the two-hand swings, by the way. So I just went on the website, read a little bit the standards. I learned that my English was not as good at the time. So I did not realize we were supposed to use doubles.
Mm.
And so I read about a 24K kettlebell, and I purchased a 16, a 24, and a 32. I said, I'm going to train with a 32, so the 24 will be easy at the cert. But I had no idea. So what did I do? Watch YouTube, of course. Mm-hmm. So I got several different, techniques and ways of using the bells, and I had no idea. In fact, I got injured right before attending RTC. So I showed up there completely unprepared, and I'm still wondering how I survived. And I did not pass, by the way. I didn't pass. I got a video to send, which was the clean. Also because I did the double clean. I did tore my bicep like a week before going up there. So I was not allowed to do the snatch test on day one. At the time, when you did your SFG level 1, the snatch test was kind of one of the last things you did on day 3. At the very beginning of the RKC, at those times, you showed up and you had some morning recharge, some mobility work, and then snatch test right away. And since I had this bicep torn, Pablo did not allow me to take the snatch test, and I wanted to go home. I couldn't because I was driving there. I had two Italian buddies with me, so I just couldn't leave. And so Pablo talked to me and said, "You're an athlete. You for sure did enough stupid things in your life. I'm not allowing you to do one more. If you're going to get injured now, you're not going to enjoy the cert. So save, learn, whatever you can, and then you'll have a chance for your snatch test on Sunday, the last day." So I did my snatch test on the last day, and my arm was still aching, so I did it with one arm. At the time, it was not 100 snatches, by the way. It was by the weight. I was 92 kilos, so I had to do 92 snatches, and I made it with one arm. And I think that even with not perfect technique, but I think that's how one of the masters at the time, no, he was a senior at the time, Jeff Newport, noticed me, and that's how I kind of gradually got into the system. I was noticed somehow. And of course, after I did that, I wanted to bring that experience in my country. So I helped organizing the first ever RKC in Italy the following year. And then since then, I'm in. So that's the story behind it, by the way.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'd go to the library all the time. I started as a trainer in 1999. I was 20 years old, and I was certified by ACE. I don't know if you're familiar. It's pretty easy to get. It's not a big deal. There's no physical test. It's just you study and then you go take a test, and you're and I'd go to the library all the time and get all these books. And I remember pulling the Russian Kettlebell Challenge off the shelf, like, what's this? And it just like changed my life. And so I was like, these guys are like Superman. Cause like Pavel, he's not like, yeah, he's in good shape, but he's not like 80s Arnold. Like he's not a huge, but he has a definite presence. I've never met him, but just through the images and then watching videos, his presence is just obvious. It's one of those things you can't fake. Like a good martial artist, you can almost feel it if you're by one. You can almost feel it. And so I got the book, and I was doing some stuff with like fat-handled dumbbells. And I was like, man, this would be kind of the same. And then I happened to find the first kettlebell I ever saw at the used sporting goods store, 24 kilogram. I bought it, and I was, be out in my backyard and doing all the stuff. And it was like showing my buddy stuff and like doing the get up, and like he's reading me the directions step by step for the get up. And I was like, man, and I started as a trainer in 1999, and in 2001, I got out of it because I didn't like what I thought you had to do to be successful. Like I thought you pretty much had to be lame. I thought you had to be mediocre, because it seems like if you're mediocre, you're going to attract the most people. That's the way I saw it at the time. I was working at a very the most popular gym in town. I was an employee, and it was just like from like one machine to the next. kind of stuff. And it was just, the owner was a control freak. Uh, and so I got out of it. And then like when I got the RKC book, I was like, I kind of want to get back into training people. I was working out with my buddies in the yard and stuff like that. But I was like, if I get back into it, it's only going to be through Pavel. And this is just impossible. How could you do 100 snatches with 24 kilograms in 5 minutes? I mean, this is incredible. And then, but you follow the steps, you follow the program, and it happens. Now it's not easy for me, but it's not that big of a deal either. And yeah, it really changed. It really just changed my life, just pulling that one book off that shelf. And so then, once we get into like kettlebells and stuff, and then we learn about Valery Fedorenko, we learn about sport style, and it's like, oh, the sport styles, their numbers are better. I mean, they just are. I mean, so like, what makes you stay with StrongFirst instead of, because well, maybe snatches aren't maybe a big difference, but like for clean and jerk, I would imagine it's definitely the case for me, or like push press, stuff like that. I can definitely do a lot more with sport style rack than hard style. So like, what made you stay with StrongFirst, or do you do a little of both?
No, the reason, well, you brought up so many points of discussion. I'm going to start from the last one, but there are a couple of other inputs you gave me that are really interesting. Now, you see, yeah, the way StrongFirst uses kettlebell and the way the sports style uses kettlebell is completely different. I'll give you an example. If you see a 100-meter sprinter and a 5K runner, they both run, right? Do they run the same?
Mm-hmm.
No. Which was right, which was wrong? It's just different. Each one of them runs in a way that's appropriate to their goals. Now, what is the goal of a kettlebell sport? Doing as many clean and jerks as you can in 10 minutes, or as many snatches as you can. So you do need to endure. You're not looking for maximum expression of power. You're looking for being able to hold the bells in the rack and do as many clean and jerks as you can in 10 minutes. Very specific goals. So everything that you do with kettlebells in that system leads you to that goal. So that is real kettlebell for kettlebell, and for kettlebell sport and kettlebell competition. In StrongFirst, kettlebell is a tool for other goals. First of all, our main goal is strength, and then from that you build other qualities, including power. So I like to think that we're kind of the sprinters of kettlebells versus the 5K runners, because what we do, we don't try to do as many clean and jerks or swings or snatches as we can. We try to do them exerting the maximum power as long as possible, and we do stop right before the power drops down and right before the form deteriorates. I'm not saying that those guys of the kettlebell sport don't have a good form. They do have a perfect form also. If they need lots of skill to do what they do. But you see, their goal is the kettlebell competition. Our goal is, well, several goals. What do we use kettlebell for? To become stronger, to become more powerful, for martial arts, for military, for conditioning. So for us, kettlebell is a tool, and what really counts are principles that are related to how to become stronger, how to become more resilient, and so on and so forth. While in the other case, kettlebell is the goal. So it's like when I assess the swing and I see someone swinging, first thing I say, remember, the kettlebell is not the goal. You shouldn't look at what the kettlebell does. You should look at your movement. Now, whatever the kettlebell does is the side effect of the movement you did. So as you see, so we focus on the movements, and then we use the kettlebell as a tool, as much as we use barbell and body weight. So pretty much we apply the same principles to different tools. But as soon as you know the principles and you know how to move, Tool is a tool. You can change it. So this is the main difference. So for us, the kettlebell is just one way of training. It has some great advantages compared to other tools, which, you know, the center of mass, the handle away from the center of mass, allows you to do ballistics, which are not easy to accomplish with other tools. I mean, you can with a barbell if you do Olympic lifting, but you know how many years it takes to learn proper technique in Olympic lifting. While you can do lots of very good ballistics with good form, you can learn that pretty easily with a kettlebell. So it's a tool that is easy to learn, easy to use, and delivers a lot. But again, it's just a tool for us. So this is the reason why I stayed with StrongFirst. And by the way, I mean, my past is bodybuilding and powerlifting. And interesting because, you know, after the RKC, I started applying some of the principles I learned to my deadlift, and I got my PRs. So that was the interesting part of it, what we call the what the hell effect. You don't know where it comes from, but it delivers. And again, swing is a hip hinge. Now imagine, if you think about the weight of the bell, which is not that much, 24 kilos, but when it comes back down in the backswing, and it's so much accelerator, how much does it weigh? I mean, force is mass multiplied by acceleration. So when you accelerate 24K, you have an effect that is very similar to what you could have for a very heavy barbell. And so it does transfer to other exercises. So this was one of the things. The other thing that came to my mind while you was talking, and your story is pretty similar to mine. I got certified with Italian Federation of Fitness, and within like 10 years, I found myself to be one of the master instructors teaching and, you know, personal training courses and so on and so forth. I had a gym. At some time in my life, I was co-owner of 3 gyms, and I felt your pain. I mean, same frustration. So when I went to the Pablo seminar, I was expecting type of seminar or workshop or course, which similar to what I've attended before, which is you sit down, someone shows you a PowerPoint, talks a little bit. Maybe you go in a practice session where one person shows you an exercise or something. You take some notes, and then it's done. And the same was for when I got certified. I mean, I spent several weeks in a room watching PowerPoints, studying manuals. But the big problem is that if you don't train, you don't have a good coach. At the end, you don't know how to perform the moves. Of course, if you work in a regular, you know, commercial gym, just using a machine, that's pretty safe. I mean, it's not too much you can do wrong there. But when you start using barbells and free weights, things are different. So what really you know, was incredible for me that time is that I was expecting to sit down and hear this Russian guy talking about exercise and programming, and he almost killed us for 2 days. I mean, he had us working, and not only he had us performing the exercise, one other very different thing that I saw, when I was attending different courses or seminars, they used to teach you like 50 different exercises in one day. They just show them to you, and, you know, and that's it. And then you just copy and you try to do it the best as you can. Now, very few exercises. I think in 2 days we covered the kettlebell swing. We worked on the squat, on the pistol, the pull-ups, and the bench press, like 5 exercises in 2 days. But there was so much attention to the details. There was so much attention to proper form, proper technique. I mean, with the past in powerlifting and bodybuilding for several years, I started training with weights in 1983, and I competed in powerlifting in 1980, I think 5, and in bodybuilding in 1986 started. So I had some experience. I think I attended that workshop back in 2009. So I thought I knew about barbells. I thought I knew how to perform a squat. I thought I knew how to perform a bench press. And after so many decades of experience, this guy, took out of his cylinder things I didn't have an idea they could exist. So that was the main difference. And also one other thing that I see, if you've been in the fitness industry, what frustrates people is that you go to the gym every day and you don't really see a result. There is not a measurable result, I mean, yeah, I look more fit on the mirror, but you don't have numbers. Unless you take a body composition assessment and you stay on diet and get measures and so on, it's something big that people don't see. I mean, I've seen people going to the gym for decades and look always the same and move the same, or people who do on machines lift lots of weight, and then when they walk, they're limping, and they have a hard time, gathering from the ground a piece of paper if it falls down. And so that's not fitness. I mean, if you can't move and if you can't perform, one of the things that, and this is related to what you said about the snatch test. One of the things that I really enjoy in doing what I do now is that you do see measurable results. And you do, and people, regular people, I mean, I was an athlete already, but I'm thinking about regular people that achieve the snatch test or the sinister goal or the beast tamer Ironman, people who were, doing something else in their life. We're not athletes. I have some, one of our team leaders here in Italy, StrongFirst, she's a StrongFirst team leader now. When I met her, she had a newspaper shop. And she was not moving. She had a newspaper shop. And she ended up, by chance, through a workshop, she started moving, and now she's a team leader. Wow. And there are hundreds of stories of people who completely change their life. And I'm not talking about business only. I'm talking about health and the way you feel with your body and results. I mean, if you tell anyone, if you take any person and you hand them a 24K belt and you tell them, hey, we get to the point where you're going to do 100 snatches with this, and you show them a snatch. They just hand the bell in their hands. They say, this is impossible. I'll never do it. But then within a few months, they get it. So, this is something interesting because in the fitness industry, and most people, they might say, I want to move well, I want to be healthy, I want to be strong. But we know that most people just want to look better in bathing suit in front of the mirror. Yeah. But at one point, that's not enough anymore. I mean, so if you also able to perform better and to measure your results, then you really get into it. Because just looking good, which is something you can achieve, but for a limited amount of time. I mean, I've been a bodybuilder for several years, and you got your top shape once a year. And you couldn't keep it. Every time I competed, I said, I'm going to stay like this the entire year. And then you just can't do it. It's impossible. Well, measurable results in movement, in strength, in conditioning is something that you can maintain. Of course, you peak maybe once a year, but you can maintain it, you can measure it, you can progress over time, and it has no age. I was amazed a couple of weeks ago, I taught a cert in Mexico for the first ever kettlebell certification in Mexico. So people who did not know too much about the system. There was a 70, I'm not sure if 72 or 74 years old chiropractor attending. They did great. And I think, I'm not sure it was the dome that you attended or the following year, we had a 70-something lady who passed all her tests. And it was interesting because since she was, over a certain age, you'll have easier tests. So like to get up, you use a lighter weight, and snatch test, you only have to do it for 3 minutes. But I passed her on the get up, and she refused it because she said, no, I want to do it with a 16 kilo. So I'm not allowing you to pass me until I send you the video that I do with a 16 kilo, as 35 years old lady would do. And this is results. This is something that ties you to this because you do see it. So it becomes a mission at one point.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So she did it with the 35 then.
Yeah, she sent me a video a couple of months later. But
Oh, so she didn't even do it then. She had to send the video in.
yeah,
Wow.
the way it works, the way it works at our certs, you are tested on the last day. If you don't pass some of the skills, you have 3 months to send in the video, correct? Now, she did pass because she was supposed to use ladder belt because she was over 60. But she did not accept it. She said, you're not graduating me. You're not giving me my certificate until I send you the video and I show you I can do it with a regular weight, with weight that everyone else, younger people use. So she wanted to do it. That was interesting.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really neat for her to do that, to um, just want it that bad. Because I've been there, and I was working out with kettlebells for 4 years or so before I did the certification, 4 or 5 years, something like that. And after that first day, the uh, man, I was so sore, and I had like I could feel like every fiber of muscle in my body was like, holy fuck. And I had a shoulder injury, and there were times during the certification I couldn't press the 16 kilograms once. I couldn't, like, I couldn't get it off of my. It just hurt. I couldn't post for the get up, and everything else was fine. I could snatch fine, and I could. There was just like a couple things where my arm was just not letting me do it, and I remember like walking home, walking back to the hotel, walking over that bridge, like giving myself a pep talk, like, because I asked Coach Summers, I was like, I can do it with my left hand. I'm right-handed, but I can't do this stuff. I can do it all left-handed. Can I? What happens then? He's like, well, you'd have to send in a video, and I'm like, there's no way I'm sending in a video. I'm getting this done, and I did it. But it's like, especially the first one, uh, it's like a. I mean, it's a big deal for a lot of people, and I weigh like 165, something like that. So I'm not like the biggest guy, and I know they changed the weights now. Bigger guys have to do heavier, but it is. So when you get that certification, I couldn't imagine just saying, "No, I'm gonna do it with I'm gonna do what the 200-pound guys have to do." Or something like that, like whatever equivalent it would be of that lady, because I know what it's like to go through that and feel that kind of soreness. Because like you said, you're not just sitting there listening and taking notes. I don't know how many swings you do over the course of the weekend, but it's a lot.
Many, many, many.
Yeah.
We are, if you realize, we're very careful and concerned about safety. So you never get like, hey, give me 200 swings. You only get them in sets of 10 with some rest between, like a go, you go. But you build volume throughout the day. So we kind of make sure that everyone's safe, that form does not deteriorate, but we do build the volume throughout the day. So at the end of the day, you have been swinging the bells like 600-800 times, sometimes more. But always a little bit at a time, like in what we call the grease the groove fashion. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what we do. It's interesting because, as you said, that cert is not something you buy, it's earned. This was one of the things that tied me to the system at the time. I realized that I earned it when I got it. I didn't feel like many other courses where I paid for it. So I need to have it. It's mine. There it was like, I earned it on a battlefield. I really earned it. So you kind of give more value to it, And also, this is one other thing that makes it different is that you do have some tests that you're aware of from the very beginning and some standard weights. It means that you need to show up prepared. You just don't just show up. And one thing that in the fitness industry is not common is that you should know about something before you claim to become an instructor about that thing. I mean, if you want to become swimming instructor, you need to be able to swim first.
Mm.
So usually you've been doing lots of swimming in your life. Eventually you competed, and now you want to coach other people. And then you take an instructor course and you start doing it. Same applies if you ski or any other type of sport. If you play baseball, basketball, you do it first. So you know how to do it. You know how to do it really well. You have experience, and then eventually you start teaching it. You take a course, start teaching it. In the fitness industry, there are so many people who don't know about fitness, never performed before. They just take the course with zero experience, and the next day they want to teach others, which is something wrong, in my opinion at least. It's not about just reading the books. It's like if you graduate and become a medical doctor, you don't do surgery the next day. You got years and years of practice first. So the fact that you know about this snatch test, you don't just show up. And I remember that one day I asked Pavel the purpose of the snatch test. And he said, well, easy. We have the snatch test in order to prevent people who we don't want from showing up. So you should, those who show up there do have a baseline that allows you to teach them to become instructors rather than just teach them how to perform the moves. You got DVDs, you got user courses for that, you got several other things. You don't really need to take a cert for that. And so if you want to get certified, you should know your stuff before, and you should learn how to teach it. There is a huge difference between being able to perform and being able to teach. I mean, a teacher is something different. Different story if you get people in a fitness center or machines. I mean, there's not too much to teach how to perform a leg extension. I don't think that's too much of a big deal there. Mm-hmm. But if we want to talk about a squat, which is much simpler than a ballistic movement, there's a lot you need to know about it. And you need to assess the movement. You need to apply corrections. You need to make sure the person is safe. You need to take a look at several different things because it needs to be legal and safe at the same time. So there's a lot going on there. So I think that's building quality in instructors. Well, you've been through it, so you know how it works. And of course, we challenge you. And one of the other reasons why some people take that cert, actually, several people don't teach. It's just because it's challenging. You want to challenge yourself. It's like you might want to do an obstacle race or something else. That's a challenge, but that is also a challenge. You want to see, I want to survive this and pass all my tests, get certified, not because I'm going to teach others, but because I want to show myself that I can achieve those results, which are not for everyone. And then eventually you'll start loving it and you want to teach it.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, you don't just buy it. There was a guy on his snatch test. He was right beside me. I was already done. And I think I finished with, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds to go or something like that. And I was watching the guy beside me, and he got 99. The bell rings. And then he did 100 after the bell. And the instructor was like, no, 99 is not 100. And so he failed. He sent in a video. I think he even ended up getting his second level later. But yeah, they're not going to feel sorry for you. You're a nice guy. We'll go ahead and give it to you. No. 99 is not 100. So you can send in a video. And that's what I liked about it, is it's so strict. And like Pavel, like I was saying before, he's obviously in great shape and really strong. And I don't even know how strong. I don't know what he can lift, but I know he's very strong. And it seems like it is applied to other things, because I have his like martial power DVD set, and he can. It's to apply. It's not to just do a bunch of snatches. It's what can you do with that energy? What can you do with that power when you don't have a kettlebell in your hands? And that's what I thought was so cool about it, because he was like the first to really, or or at that moment in my life, so I've done jujitsu for a long time, martial arts, and he just made so much sense being able to apply the kettlebell, not just to get bigger biceps or something like that, but to have like fighting power and have whatever else you're wanting to do besides lift a kettlebell a whole bunch.
Yeah, and this relates again to what we said before, which is kettlebell is a tool for achieving something else. So you want to hit harder, you use a kettlebell for that purpose, which is the difference between what we do and the GS sport, which again is awesome, but it has a different goal. So if you think about it, the hip hinge is the most powerful movement. I mean, if you want to sprint, that's what you need. If you want to jump, that's what you need. If you want to kick or punch, this is what you need. Everything starts from there, right? The power starts from there. So, of course, if you become stronger and more explosive in your hip hinge, well, you do have a lot of benefits in other activities. And again, so what we do basically, we prepare people for their endeavors, their sport, their life with a kettlebell, rather than preparing them just for competing with kettlebells, which is awesome. I mean, many people in our system also do that.
Yeah.
And usually I wouldn't be able to do it. Wouldn't be trained for that. And again, my goal is different. My biggest dream is deadlift 300 kilos. So this is what I'm going to do before I die.
You mentioned bodybuilding a couple of times, and something I thought was interesting about you. I don't know how long ago it was, but I already knew about you, so I guess it was within the last couple of years or so. You did another bodybuilding competition. I might be correct, but you were out of it for a long time, and you were going to just do it with the StrongFirst rep range, which is different than the typical bodybuilding rep range. And you ended up doing pretty well. Can you just talk about like the different rep ranges and how you did it and why it's different?
Yeah, it was different because, well, at the time, I switched back to bodybuilding after several years. I think my last competition was 2006. And so this one was 2016, so like 10 years later. And in those 10 years, I didn't do anything like bodybuilding. I did just kettlebells and stuff like that. And I did powerlift. I got a shoulder injury, so I couldn't go back to powerlifting as I wished I could. And so I said, well, let's do something. And everything came across because I wanted to kind of demo to myself, first of all, and then tell others that you don't really need to train like a typical bodybuilding to look like a bodybuilder. My idea is this. What I realized when I used to bodybuild, I used to be strong because of my powerlifting background. And I would never give up my strength just for bodybuilding. So I did like to look muscular, big and huge, but I wanted to be strong at the same time. So my training was based mostly on, fundamental exercises. I did also use machines. But at one point I had this thought. I thought that I'm looking at some athletes. Look at gymnasts, look at 100-meter sprinters. I mean, they don't do curls or anything like it, but they do have big arms. They do have beautiful bodies. So I thought maybe you don't really need, I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm saying there is another way. You don't really need to focus on the single muscle group and see if you can, I'm thinking about the patchwork, right? I gotta add some pecs, so that's some pecs. I'm gonna add a little bit of triceps there. So most bodybuilders think about one muscle at a time, which unfortunately does not translate into movement. And since, in my career, I got so many injuries, it took me some time with, Pavel's system to being able to move again. I didn't want to lose that. And I had this thought, if you move well, you look good. So I thought, if instead of training the single muscle, I train the movement pattern. And I make sure that movement patterns, I train them in a balanced way. So the way my body will look will reflect this. So I thought, okay, what do I need? I need a hip hinge movement, posterior chain. I need a squat movement. I need a horizontal press and horizontal pull. I need a vertical press and a vertical pull, and I need some contralateral movement for my midsection. So basically, I had 6 movement patterns plus the midsection work, so 7. If I train those like horizontal press, horizontal pull with similar volume and similar way, and I make sure that I don't forget any of those, I create balance among all of those, then my body should look balanced at the end. So I created a plan based on movement patterns. So I only trained 7 exercises and variety of the same exercises. So I had the squat, I had the deadlift, I had the bench press, I had the rows, I had the military press, I had the pull-ups, and I had some midsection work, which usually could be the Turkish get-up, could have been crawling and stuff like that. Well, maybe it wasn't always back squat. Sometimes it was front squat. So I did change within the same movement pattern, but that's the way I trained, and I did not do any calf work or any direct arm work. So no curls, no tricep, anything like it. And I showed up at the competition. It was a natural, national, not a big federation, but I got second place. And I did both categories, the over 40 and the other one. I got both second place, which was not winning, but still good result because I didn't do any pumping. Now, if you do want to compete in bodybuilding at one point close to competition, you will need to work on some high reps, your sarcoplasm, your glycogen stores, your vascularization, and stuff like that. But if you want to be big and look as strong as you are, you can without do any of those, and with a very minimalist approach and minimalist tools, so you can do it in your garage, in your home. And this is, of course, you develop different types of hypertrophy. Now, how do muscles grow? You can grow their contractile proteins, actin, myosin, and so on. And this requires pretty much strength work, what we do. But then you can increase the size because the sarcoplasm increases. And then you need higher reps, all those pumping workouts, and glycogen stores, and phosphate stores. There's a lot you can do. So competitive bodybuilder at a certain level needs to focus on all of those. But there is a little problem there. Now, when you work on your contractile proteins, so you work on strength-based hypertrophy, and especially your fast-twitch fibers, that lasts long. It's slower, but it stays. If you start working high reps and you start working your sarcoplasm, your glycogen store, and so on, it's very quick to achieve, but very quick to lose. In fact, you do see many bodybuilders, they stay out of the gym 2 weeks, they shrink, right? While if you see a power lifter, he doesn't train for a month, he's as big as he was before. So I use that approach. So I use pretty much strength training. And the way I increased my muscular volume was by performing very high volumes of training. So several sets and several reps, which is not easy, especially with fundamental exercises. So the way I did it is basically using StrongFirst principles. First of all, I wanted to avoid getting injured. So second, I needed to put lots of volume with fairly heavy weights. How could I do so? Not easy. Heavy weight, usually low volume. The way I did it was working with buffer. What does that mean? Let's say that in a set, I could perform 10 reps. I would never do more than 2/3 of the reps I could perform. So my rep range was from 50% to like 66% of the reps I could perform with a weight. So if I do a squat, I could do 10 reps with a certain weight. I will do sets, let's say from 5 to 6, never more than that. This first of all, allowed me to keep perfect form until the end. But then this allowed me to perform several sets. So at the end, I did more volume. Now think about this: if you get a weight on your shoulder, and let's say it allows you to perform, I don't know, 10 reps, and you really go all out, you do all those 10 reps. After a couple of minutes, you won't be able to do 10 reps anymore. Let's say maybe you do 7, 8, and if you do another set, you'll do less, and then less. So maybe you're done within like 4 or 5 sets. And maybe you did 10, 7, 5. You end up doing like 23, 24 reps. But if I stick to 5 to 6, maybe I can do 10 sets like that. And so at the end, maybe I double the volume. So this is kind of approach I used. Also, the other thing was, not getting injured. If you go all out in your 10 reps, how many of those 10 reps would be perfect? And how many would be compensated with some, flaws in the technique? Maybe the last 2 or 3 won't be too good, right? But if I stay like at 50, 60, 60%, I can make sure that all the reps are with perfect form. So, I work on safety, and at the same time, I could gain some muscle. And it did work. It did work to the point that after that competition, I've been working a lot on this type of bodybuilding. Pavel and I, we call this built strong. Like be as strong as you look as strong as you are. Yeah. And actually, I'm testing at these 2 years. I've been testing different protocols with several athletes with good results. Especially some Italians here who are doing really well, but natural bodybuilding competitions. I think that sooner or later, a seminar or a book or something will come out, because I'm collecting so much data on that. And I changed the approach. I mean, those principles I told you about, those stay there. But are you aware what Plant Strong is?
Yeah, I haven't been to the seminar, but I know that it exists, and but I haven't been to the seminar.
Plant Strong, basically, it's an application of the former Soviet Union weightlifting methodology to the grinds. So instead of clean and jerks and to squat, deadlift, bench press, military press, and so on and so forth. And it's completely different from the Western approach. Very interesting. And I recall it took me some time to get it, to really get to know the system. I was lucky that I translated Pavel in here in Italy when he was teaching it. So translating, you learn a lot. And then I've been translating the manual. And now, by the way, I teach those seminars now. But that is specific for strength. There's no interest in hypertrophy. So I started tweaking some variables and see if I could build some hypertrophy with it. And it works really well. Actually, more than expected, because the interesting thing is that people not only get bigger, they also get stronger and they stay safe. Of course, you do have to spend lots of time in the gym. That's the downside, because the volumes are really high. But you're always safe. And so I've been evolving this system, and I hope that sooner or later I'll be able to come up with something if time allows. Very interesting. It kind of fills that gap, that some people want to just move better. Some people want to be stronger. Some people want to perform better. But no matter if you're a long distance runner, sprinter, if you're a fighter, if you just look for your fitness, everyone wants to look better in front of the mirror. That's something that is common. No one likes to look fat or out of shape or, with no muscle tone. So this is something that interests pretty much everyone. And finding a way to do it that does not compromise health is something I really like. And there's also one other thought I have behind this, because some people like to be fit, to look fit. And I'm thinking how many bodybuilders do look fit, but they aren't because they just can't touch the toes. But I'm thinking also that some people have different goals, endeavors. I'm thinking about people who have military, in law enforcement, or people who play a sport professionally. Now they have a big deal, a big problem. They can't be sore.
Mm.
They need to be ready. I mean, if you're a firefighter, you cannot give up saving someone because your legs are sore because you killed yourself on like a station day before.
Yeah.
So finding a way to achieve that, being strong and achieve the muscle mass you want to achieve, but also without being sore the following days, it's important. Or you do want to gain some weight because you want to change category, you're a wrestler, so you do want to put some muscles on, but your sport is wrestling, so you can't be sore for that. Here in Italy, there's a big deal of soccer, for instance. And now you do need strong legs, but you need to be able to use them. So it can't kill you with, high rep squat or anything like it a couple of days before your match. Otherwise, you won't be able to perform there. So there's a lot of things that are related to this, what I'm working on, which is interesting. I'm having lots of fun working with it.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. It's another thing that I really like about StrongFirst because it's really scientific. Because I mean, you've been at this stuff for a long time. You could create a program in 5 minutes, and somebody could have an amazing benefit from it. But instead of like just cranking out something in 5 minutes, which you surely can, you're taking your time to dial it in with the measurable results over time. And I would imagine like the higher level athletes, because almost anybody can take somebody that hasn't trained and get some pretty decent results. Like what can you do with that person after a year? Or what if they've been training for what if they come to you and they're already strong and they're already ripped and they just want to do you know what to do then? So that's something I like about StrongFirst. It's got they're not just cranking out certifications like 1,000 different ones. For a long time it was just kettlebells, and then now it's body weight, and then the barbell, and it's not 1,000 different barbell techniques. It's 4, and I haven't done that one, but that's what I like about it. It's so precise, and so you see like some of these, it's getting like popular. Like these different companies, and maybe it's okay to some degree, but they offer like 50 different certifications for all these different things, and you see what they're doing, and it's like it's okay, but not like StrongFirst isn't trying to just be okay. It's the idea is to be like they say like elite, but not elitist or something like that. I think is might still use that one.
I mean, movements are the same. Those are the movements your body can perform. So you change the tool, but basically those are the movements, right? I'm thinking about something. You said something really correct. I mean, everybody can have results when they're beginners. I mean, any plan works, any plan for the first 2 weeks, especially with those who haven't been doing anything. One of the reasons why I love Zumba. If I say now, if Pavel hears me saying I love Zumba, he's going to fire me. But the reason for this, I mean, what did Zumba do incredibly? Because it's just fun. There's the music and it's like dance. I don't know too much about it, but Zumba brought some people who were sitting on the couch all day who would never, ever have started physical activity to do something, which is good. The problem is that, okay, what's next? So, you go to a fitness gym, you start moving and you get results right away, but then those results stop. And so you don't find results and you start looking for variety. And this is what, functional training lives on this. People got bored after years using the machines and started doing functional training. And the idea was finding as many variation and crazy exercises as possible. And the more unstable you are and the more it's functional, but at the end, where are the results? You're just trying to kill boredness. You don't want to get bored. You want new things. Now, in contradiction to this, we do always the same thing. I mean, and so I get this question so oftentimes, like, don't you get bored? Well, you know, is having results boring? I mean, if you provide results to people, they will not complain because they do always the same exercise and they're boring. They will want to do those exercises all the time. I mean, think about this. An exercise that does deliver is the bench press. That delivers over time for one reason, because it's something you only do at the gym. I mean, people don't do anything similar. So people start going to the gym and they start getting strong in the bench press. They get big pecs, you know, they look good at the beach. And every Monday, 90% of people at the gym are doing bench press, right? Why don't you get bored of doing bench press? Well, because it delivers, right? And you get bored of other things because they don't deliver. So if something delivers, you want to do it all the time. So now it's interesting because sometimes they ask me, okay, what are you doing at the gym tomorrow? So, well, tomorrow I'm going to do deadlift, squat, military press, pull-ups, bench press, and rows, and then some get-ups and stuff like that. Okay, so what do you do the next day? Well, deadlift, squat, bench press, military press, pull-ups, rows. And the following day, just the same. And maybe just change the order, you know, or change the load, change the sets. But if it's important, do it every day. If it's not, don't do it. So maybe sometimes it's a bench press, sometimes it's a dumbbell bench press, sometimes it's a squat, sometimes it's a back squat, front squat, Zercher squat. It does change, but that's the same thing. Sometimes it's not a deadlift, sometimes it's a swing, but it's still the same movement pattern. How could you get bored? I mean, I'm getting close to 50. I'm still getting results. I mean, I did some PRs at the end of 2017. I hope at the end of 2018 do some more, so I don't get bored. No one gets bored about it with results. If you don't provide, if you don't deliver, well, they'll ask you for something else. And they see why they keep changing activity and stuff like that. But if you get results, you want to stick to that.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like is meditation boring? Well, kind of, you see, but it's getting more and more popular all the time just to sit there and not do anything for increasing amount of times, just sitting on a wood floor quiet for an hour. But like, to me, whether it's like deadlift or press or like a snatch test, or like when you get high numbers or whatever, like just the way it develops the mind. So it's something I've been thinking about, and I put out like a couple things on the Instagram, like for with martial artists, like especially like grapplers in mind, because they have like this weird kind of strength, like if you're new to a judo class and you're going up against a black belt, why is he so sturdy? Why is he so hard to move? And like on the ground, like why does it feel like that? Like maybe I'm bigger than this guy, but why is it like that? Why can this? But like grapplers just have this weird strength. So I'm like trying to like plug some techniques into like how to develop balance. Like if you're like standing up, doing rows with a cable machine. Okay, so I'm not thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to work my lats. I'm working my balance. Yeah. So like working the lats is kind of like a different kind of thing. So that balance, being able to like have that staying rooted and not have it so heavy that I have to like lean back, like which in a grappling situation you're going to get thrown backwards. Or so I'm trying to like plug some different ideas I think that are not really commonly thought of to develop strength, or like that weird strength, like that weird balance, weird what is it, strength, like holding a heavy bag, like have the heavy bag like off the chain and just put it like in a chokehold and do squats, or like doing like some like body lock, or like, and you have just So you're using like your grip endurance, and it's kind of hard to work that into use a barbell for that, like or dumbbells or kettlebells. I forget what my point was. But you're that the mindset. So like the meditation. It's almost like when you're going for these like perfect technique, like make each rep the best one you've ever done. Yeah, I've done 10,000 of these, but this next one's going to be the best one ever. I think that develops that kind of mindset. That's like that you're not really getting bored that way, because that concentration, you can't just get that, or it's a lot harder to get that from like a meditating and sitting on the floor. If I'm meditating on the floor, I got to pay my electric bill today, so I got thinking about that. But if you're doing the 5 minutes of snatches, or you're doing a deadlift PR, your electric bill is not going to pop into your mind. You're not thinking about anything except what's going on in that moment. So I can do the same things over and over again and not get bored. And I think it might have, like, do you see it the same way? Like because this mindset that you're in,
Yeah, you see, this is a couple of things that happen is, first of all, when you aim to perfection, you keep searching for the perfect rep, you start discovering new details about whatever you're doing that you were not aware before. So it's a continuous discovery. Second, you learn to focus, which is very difficult. Now, bodybuilder mindset, you talked about rows before, is I'm working my lat, right? Or you say, I'm working my balance. I would add, you're just learning how to use your body as a unit. And you understand that if you want to perform the rows, and you get support is one thing. But if you want to perform the rows and be perfectly stable, you need to control at the same time every single part of your body. So you understand that there's a lot there. There's a lot of focus there. So you don't have any mental energy for anything else. And you start double checking every single part of your body, because everything must be in the right place at the right time and do the right thing. This is one of the reasons why I love so much the one-arm kettlebell military press. Even more than the snatch, because you see the snatch, I love the snatch, but the snatch bells, you just pop the bell, pop your hips, the bells get there, and you need to have full control at the lockout. But when you're pressing a heavy bell on one side, heavy, half body weight or heavier, for one reason. If I'm pressing a 12 kilo, it's no big deal, because it does not affect my center of mass that much, it doesn't shift it. But think about this, if I press a beast, imagine, which is way more than half of my body weight. When the beast is here, if my body doesn't know what to do, I'm gonna fall that way. Because the center of mass will go out of my foundation. And so I got the bell here. Everything that is below the bell, you must have full control of it. You need to stack your bones. You need to align yourself under the bell and drive all that force to the ground. If there's any little leakage of tension or any little imperfection in your position, you're just gonna fall. And as you're moving it and the center of mass is getting higher, you need to completely adjust your body under the bell to make sure that the bell stays exactly where it should be on top of your foot. And you need to move around. So everything that is below the bell must be under full control. And when you get up there, you must control your body completely. It's pretty much what you're doing if you're doing rows of cables and try to balance, right? You are achieving full body control. So you're turning what people see as an exercise for some muscles into a full body lift, which is what we do in any lift. Think about a push-up. How many poor push-ups have you've seen? But when you get to the point that you achieve a one arm, one leg push-up, well, that means that you have full control of your body. You know how to generate tension throughout your entire body and control every single segment, because a little mistake, a little flaw somewhere, you will just roll over and won't make it. You can't not even slight shrug your shoulder. You can't fail in positioning your hands on the ground. You can't fail in balance. Your midsection can't give up for a second. Your glutes can't give up for a second. Your knees can't give up for a second. Your feet, there's everything there. You know, you must be perfectly aligned. So it's incredible. And this is where you get to. I mean, you learn how to use your body as a unit and control all its parts at the same time. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it's when people like want variety, or they'll think like if I get somebody that they're, because like, you know, some people contact me because they find me on the StrongFirst site, or they know I do, I'm like mostly, I do all kinds of stuff, but like kettlebell guy. But some people I get, and they don't know anything about StrongFirst. They never heard of Pavel. They don't know what kettlebells are. They don't care. And so even like, so sometimes maybe they'll wonder why that there aren't curls in there. And, you know, sometimes I got like one guy, sometimes we'll throw some curls in, do a drop set, like pump up the arms. But it was probably well over a year before he did any curls. Like, but his arms are like
huge.
Yeah, they're getting bigger from all the, but so I was like telling people, like, even curls, if you're standing there doing a bicep curl with a dumbbell, it's still a total body exercise. Your legs are standing.
Yep.
I mean, if your obliques, your abs are going to have to be tight. So is standing there doing a bicep curl an ab exercise? So I try to get people to think, like, instead of thinking that this is for the biceps, or this is so then if I can get them to think standing there doing a bicep curl is a total body exercise, is it worth it? You know, you have 45 minutes with me, an hour with me, and you know, most people they're not putting up any kind of struggle, or like, because they see the results. And but like some people will, like, getting people to that idea that using the body as a unit, like you're talking about, like the movements, like you're doing like this bodybuilding competition, which most people are like, I'm going to hit the brachioradialis more today, and that kind of thing. And you're just like, I'm going to push this way today. I'm going to pull this way. I'm going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, again, I have nothing against, and I think at a certain point, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you do need to do that, but you should not do only that. I mean, foundation is the movement, being able to move and create. Think about this. I'm thinking about an artist who creates statues. He doesn't start with details. I mean, you get a big stone and give it the shape of a person, right? And you make sure that all the proportions are there. And then gradually, it looks more like the final product. But you start working on the small details at the very end. If you have this big stone, you start, trying to work on the eyes and the nose, you'll never know what's going to happen at the end. So I think that if you're
I like that.
At one point, I mean, this is interesting because my challenge when I did the bodybuilding competition was no curls, no direct muscle work, no tricep extensions, no cuts. I'm testing them now. I mean, I added some curls, but it's like I did all the rest, and let's add some curls. But it's interesting, as you said, because there's different ways of doing it. I could put myself on top of a bench and do some curls here and try to focus on my bicep. Or if you take, 110 pounds bar and you want to curl it without cheating, well, that's a different story. You really need to root your feet into the ground. You need to pull up your kneecaps. You need to squeeze your glutes. You need to tighten your abs completely. You need to keep your shoulders unstruck. And when it's here, you get so much, midsection work because of the long lever there that it's really, hard and huge. So you can do it. You can do functional curls, by the way, if you want to. The point is that, do you need them? Most likely not, unless you're a professional bodybuilder. Or do you want to do it? Can you have bigger guns? Yes. Uh, but when should I start doing it? Well, when you create a foundation. I mean, I see so many people go to the gym, regular gym. I've been, in LA 2 months this year, and I traded gold for the entire 2 months. And I saw I saw those, I call them the quarter bodies, because they only have a few muscles and the rest is not there. People who go to the gym and just they have this t-shirt and just do some pecs and biceps. That's all they have. And then they turn over and you see there's no back there. There's no back, there's no legs, there's no glutes, there's nothing. It's just there. Whatever you need to put a tank top on a beach, unless, but you can't take your pants off, because there's nothing else there. Which, okay, if you like it, that's good, but I would rather create a foundation before adding the rest. So nothing against it, cool, but not as a starting point. Build the body from the center. That's the way you see it, if you want to build it.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Like when you're starting to carve out a statue, you don't start with the details. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I just realized we've been at this for like almost an hour and 20 minutes. It goes fast. I could talk to you about this stuff forever. I'm not in any hurry or anything, but I guess what else do I want to talk to you about? So you're mentioning like gaining like the size, like there was a thing like as strong as you look, or as look as strong as you are, changing that. Like besides that, like what else do you see like in the future for StrongFirst, and like what is your role? Like what are you doing now, and what are you taking on as your challenge?
Well, actually, now I'm pretty much I'm the CEO of StrongFirst, so I'm taking care of managing operations, and together with Pavel, visioning the future and working on new directions, new products, and developing new things. And actually, we have quite a lot going on, and several things will be announced ready. First thing will be a new book by Pavel, which is in the works. It's almost ready, and it's related to his seminar, Strong Endurance. So it's a totally different way of building endurance. And again, it's about like as for bodybuilding, we have the pumps. For conditioning now there is the high intensity interval training, which does work for a while. But still, you're sore the next day. You're sore for a few days. And as you know, if you do it on a regular basis, you get this progressive diminishing of returns, and then you start, going back. So Pavel's been researching for almost 5 years in this. There's a lot of, breaking research behind what he's been doing. And it's so completely different way of seeing conditioning. I can't say too much, but it's not going to be long before we see this coming out. So it's, by the way, it's managing lactic acid and trying to, rather than learning how to tolerate more lactic acid, teaching your body how to build less of it, and focusing on power, and you will get your conditioning as a pleasant side effect. That's very interesting. And then we're working on new events, new different type of seminars. We're introducing new modalities and a couple of new things that are related to performance on one side and well-being on the other side. I can't spoil the announcements, so but there's before the end of the year, 3-4 big things are coming out. The only one thing I can mention, because I'm involved into it, Pavel and I wrote an ebook which is coming out soon, and it's about powerlifting cycles, strength cycles. powerlifting. And there's some, work for strength and some for hypertrophy. But the real new stuff will be that related to strong endurance and conditioning. And also, we launched the podcast, which is, so basically we started doing what you're doing. We're having several very interesting guests over there, and we're going to improve even more of those, this field. And then we started with the online training, which is, it's very different for us. It's something really new. What we want to see, we don't want to change our nature. We want to keep doing what we've done up to now, just better. And so we're not going to make our certs easier. We want to keep our certs, very hard to achieve. People need to deserve to earn that diploma on the battlefield, because this is, if I made the certification easier, I would disrespect you and your diploma. Take value away from your diploma, right? Because you know what you've been through to achieve it. So this is not going to change. So we're not looking forward to build 10,000 instructors. We're good as we are. And even if not everyone knows us, what we want to make sure is that who get to know us know that we do deliver high quality instruction. And so, opening to other things like online training is completely different. That is aimed to users. So both our user courses and online training are aimed to people who are not interested in teaching others or becoming instructors, but people who want to learn how to use properly the tool or the system, and they have no access either to a gym or to a StrongFirst instructor or to a StrongFirst accredited gym. And so they provide resources for them. So, our growth is because we're opening new countries. We've been opening quite a few this year. We opened Czech Republic, we opened France, we're opening Spain now, we opened Mexico, we're going to Costa Rica. So we're going out there. But again, so if the overall number of StrongFirst instructors increases, it's not because we made it easier, but because other countries discovered us. But then we do want to offer something for those who might not be interested in passing all the standards and just need to use the battle for themselves, the battle or the barbell or the bodyweight. Now think about this. If you are a professional boxer, your goal is boxing, and you cannot spend precious time of your physical preparation to get ready for this next test for the SFG level 1. However, you do need to know how to use kettlebells because they might be a useful tool. So I do need to provide something that is useful for you, which will not require any specific standard to be accomplished, but I need to be able to give you the tools to get the benefits of the system. If you do have an instructor who can follow you close to where you live, where you perform, where you train, that's perfect. You don't need anything like it. But we do want to reach people who don't know about us, and who are not interested in becoming instructors, but just want to deliver them the message and help them to train better, get results, and have a better life.
What will that online training look like? Will it be like a live session, or is it just like access to pre-recorded videos, or what will
we have the first one already. We already announced the first one, and it's about kettlebell. We're working on others, and there's that one. There is Powell, there is myself, there is Lance Koffel, there is Brett Jones. There we take different parts. So you get the basics of kettlebell training, and you do have a platform. So on this platform, you do have the videos with instructions. You have another window with the videos of the drills to make that better. Plus, you have an online manual and some slides that go while the instruction. You see the slides. You have a downloadable manual, and then you have a forum. So when you have some questions, there is someone, namely Brett Jones, who answers and helps you, coaches you through. So it's not like buying a DVD. It's a real course. There is some interactive part. There is some interaction, but you can see it from different perspectives. So you see the instructor performing, teaching others, showing. You see all the drills that allow you to make things better. For instance, you look at the deadlift and the swing, you will see while Lance Koffel is teaching this, the deadlift and the swing, you will see in a small window me doing the glutes to the wall drill and all the stuff and all the drills that we use to help people achieve a good hip hinge, and so on and so forth. And then we have all the put into practice sessions, so that some exercise combos that are aimed to improve your skills. And then, of course, you're not aimed to give you a workout, but as a side effect, the workout will happen because you will, while you learn, you also have some benefits there. And then there is a programming section and some programs that you can download and you can follow to get better. So this is the structure, more or less, basically. And I think that the slides, the manual, and the forum is a great part of that. And by the way, we used, I don't know if you know Grace University, right?
Yeah.
So we're using their same platform.
Okay.
So it's really professional platform. So they did this first experiment with kettlebells and it turned out to be really good. So we're going to do some barbell and bodyweight stuff and some other stuff on mobility probably. And so, and again, we're not trying to take away the role of an instructor. We're aiming to those who don't have an instructor or want to train home or, or in different countries, they just don't find someone. And of course, we started also the accredited gym program. So we're accrediting gyms all around the world where we make sure that they do have instructors, they do follow our system and the standards where people can go and train and be sure that they have a person who is aware of our system and can train them according to it. So this is one of the things we just launched, we're working on. And we're improving, of course.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and it's always solid. There's no, it's always high level. And sometimes I look at other systems and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to dig into this. Maybe I'll get this certification, or I'm like doing some of these moves or whatever. And then it kind of get bored with it, or and I'm always back to the StrongFirst stuff. It's like, I'll do all this other stuff, and I never give up the StrongFirst stuff. All the principles I use for my clients, and I don't. I do a lot of different stuff, but it all pretty much fits into StrongFirst theory. And so I was kind of considering, okay, I have this. My certification expires in next May. Am I going to try something else? And then I kind of think about other stuff, and I always just no, I'm going to go for the level 2, and it's just it never it never gets old. I never feel like I'm at the end of it. I always see something where I can improve if I can just dial these principles in more and more. And so it's really cool to see that people can have, if they can't afford, $75, $100 an hour for a trainer or whatever it is that we're charging, or for classes, or that they can have some access to the real training from it. So is there anything else that you're wanting to get into, or did you have?
I don't know if this might interest you, because you're, by the way, I'll see you in May. Level 2. I won't be teaching that one, because this year we're having the level 1, level 2, the body weight and the barbell is the same big dome. It's a four separate courses happening at once. So I will just say hi to you there, but I won't be one of the teachers. But we are launching right now the unified certification. We are realizing that we do need to help our instructors who want to stay certified. to stay certified. And so, as you know, the options for us are quite different from other systems. You just don't have to pay so much every 2 or 3 years and take a test, but you may come to assist. When you come to assist to a cert, well, you do get so much. You learn even more than when you took your first one because you're more relaxed. You see it from the other side, from the teaching perspective. But what we're doing now, see, if you had level 2 and then you had the body weight and then you have the barbell, you had to recertify in each one of them, which would lead to a higher expense and also a lot of time. So we're launching a unified research. It means that at any event, you can recertify at the same time with no extra cost, whatever you have. So let's say that now you only have level 1, you won't have that level 2, but then let's say that your level 2 expires and you will have to choose, oh, I'd like to take Plant Strong, but I can't because I have to get recertified. So I invest some money on getting recertified. Well, the change will be that you attend Plant Strong and you can get recertified for free there for whatever you got.
That's awesome.
So instead of getting always recertified, a way to recertify is attend new events. But also, now let's say that at one point you got the kettlebell level 2 and the barbell, and you need to recertify both of them. You don't have to take different tests. It will be a unified test. It will take some of the tests of the barbell, some of the kettlebells. You don't have extra costs. You recertify the 2 of them at the same time. But let's say that at one point you get to the point where you have the kettlebell, the barbell, and the bodyweight, all of them. Well, you will have a new rank of instructor, which is called StrongFirst Elite, which means that, and your certification in that case, instead of lasting 2 years, will last 3 years. So we're trying to reward those who stay with us and those who want to learn more, trying to help them learning more by, cutting their expenses quite a bit as much as we can, because we're realizing that many would love to stay with us, but at one point initially we say you need to keep one hand on your heart and one hand on your wallet. So if we release your wallet, you can keep both hands on your heart and do what you like to do. So this is pretty much the goal. And this, I think it's a huge step forward. I'm so proud of this. I've been working so hard on this together with my colleagues at the HQ because we really wanted this. And for us, it's a great investment because, before someone would pay like $300 to get recertified in the kettlebell, and then $300 for the barbell, and then $300 for the body weight. Now with $300, they get them all. Or if they attend an event, they get it for free. So you understand it's a huge investment, but we want to have the mindset of a school rather than the business. We do, of course. This is how I feed my family. This is what I do. So there is business, but I want to think that business for us is side effect, not the goal. We want to deliver, and we want to provide instruction. We want to create a community of people who are promoting the message of strength and health. And this will lead to have some business, but we don't do it for the business. Business happens. Well, other circumstances, one of the reasons why I left the Italian Federation of Fitness time was, let's do business. If it happens that we also create good instructors that help people, that's good. But let's think about the business first. I want to turn that over. I want to think about, let's be a school and let's deliver and let's spread the knowledge. And then, of course, if this will lead to some business, we're really happy because, of course, this is how myself, our leadership, and our HQ feed their families. But again, we'd like this school to grow and to outlive us. I like to think that in 50 years, if I won't be here anymore, or let's say in 30 when I'll be retired, StrongFirst will still be there and will be grown and keep delivering high quality, information, knowledge, instruction, and so I hope I'll be sitting in my couch watching TV and be happy about it, and still training every morning. That's what I hope.
Yeah, it's really cool. That sounds like a really good plan. Because I've thought about those other certifications also, and And of course, I teach all sorts of stuff, but that's a good idea to be able to do it all at the same time and break on the price. Everybody likes to break on the price, and it's not like the prices are that crazy anyway. But for money's money, and if we can do what we want and save some money, then that's
Yeah. You know, the big deal is that the more you have in any system, you know, if you have certifications with us, with others, to keep current, the more you have to spend. Now, the idea is reversing. I mean, the more you have, the more you deserve to spend less and to be helped because you're doing a good job. So trying to reverse this idea, you know, instead of punishing those who are seeking for continuous education and for more and more knowledge, we should reward them, you know, which is, it sounds like not a good business move, but, you know, if our community grows, it's going to be also a good business move. And again, I'm happy if people do also other, I mean, I take other certs. I took other certs. I mean, I did CrossFit level 1, I did CrossFit Olympic, CrossFit gymnastics, I did something with TACFit. And I love seeing other systems. I still, you know, I'm still tied to mine, but everywhere you go, you get to learn something, everywhere. But it's interesting because teaching certs, you know, I'm realizing sometimes I see a student doing something, I say, oh, I gotta get that, I gotta do that. Because everyone, you know, even the last of your, you know, more beginner of your students, for sure, he will know at least one thing you don't know, you know, and will maybe by chance, but he will provide you some tips to allow you, that will allow you to become a better instructor, a better person. And also, if someone is so hard to coach, you become a better coach. So every time you go teach, you know, you're a teacher, you're a student at the same time, and every time you go back home, it's your, oh my God, I'm richer. I'm not talking about, you know, more dollars in my pocket. I'm richer. I got more knowledge. I learned so many things from my colleagues. We teach the same curriculum, but we have different styles, and maybe we have different way of communicating, and you keep learning. So yeah, if this is another thing, if people can stay with us and save some money, they can do something else, and I'm not jealous at all. No, not at all. The more you learn, the better it is. And when you come back to us, you'll have something to teach us that we can learn ourselves and use. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a good philosophy. My youngest student is 10 years old, and there's like, so I teach them like strict technique. Of course, it's mostly like kettlebells and body weight stuff. And there's like a playground. I teach at a wilderness survival school, and outside there's like an adult-sized playground, so you could be on the monkey bars and your feet are off the ground, and climbing rope and all kinds of stuff. But so I'll teach them like real strict form also. And then sometimes I'll just like let them make stuff up. I'll just like crank up the music and here's a kettlebell, do whatever you want. And the 10-year-old, his name's AJ, he might be listening. He was like doing a snatch, and then he kind of like combined a snatch and a figure eight. So I've taught him the snatch. I taught him the figure eight, like between the legs. And he was like combining that. So he was like coming up, and at the top of the snatch, he was turning around and then like doing it like that between his legs, and then coming back up with the other arm. And he was calling out the spider, and I was like, that's actually pretty cool. I've seen a lot of kettlebell stuff. I've watched the Russians, Ukraine juggling, doing all sorts of weird stuff. But I haven't seen it. I've seen a lot of those pieces, but I haven't seen it put together like that. And he's 10, and all I did was give him the space and a couple techniques, and he just made this thing up. I haven't seen it before. Maybe somebody else has done it, but I was like, that's pretty cool. And so he was like kind of like fine-tuning it a little bit, kind of gets stuck in the middle sometimes. But yeah, being able to like learn, not just think you're already.
Yeah, you learn something from the youngest among your students.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what happens. This would happen to me all the time. You know, one thing, just to give an example. Now, they get up. You know, we say, put your hand at 45 degrees, right? when you're lying down. And actually, it's 45 degrees of baseline, but you need to find your position, right? Now, think about this. The longer are your arms, so the longer are your limbs, the farther you're supposed to go away. If you have short limbs, you should be closer. Now, I saw this lady, and she was attending a sermon. She would do this before, before starting to get up to position her hand. She would put her hand on top of her hip and then extend the elbow. Now, think about this. The shorter your hand, the closer you are. The longer your arms, the further you are. So this is kind of perfect. It changes your positioning according to the way you're built, right? So I got that one from her, and I teach it that way now. And it's something, I mean, this lady did it by chance. She thought it was cool, and she just did it. I don't think she had a specific clue to do it, but I was there, and I said, oh my God. And now I quote this lady all the time. See, I saw this lady do it, and it's cool. It works. So if you don't feel comfortable in 45, try this, and you see that some people end up here, and some people end up there, according to how long their limbs are, and it does work. Of course, 300% of cases, but it does. So, it's one small tip that you got from one person who just did it by pure chance. You learn all the time.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry to rush you off or anything, but we can start to wrap it up if you want. Did you have any final thoughts for us? And do you still do are you just training at certifications and stuff, or you still do private lessons or anything online? Or
I can't do that. I mean, I got now StrongFirst is a full-time job for me. I teach certs, and during the week I just help managing the company. So I don't do anything like that anymore. I don't need to promote my business anymore. My business is StrongFirst right now. My life is StrongFirst. So yeah. So I don't need to do a sales pitch. Come and be trained by me. Well, I do sometimes. This is something I do sometimes when I create new plans. I just distribute some plans to some people as guinea pigs, as long as they provide full feedback. So if someone wants to reach out to me for that, I'll be glad. And my email is very complicated. It's Fabio@strongfirst.com, by the way.
Yeah.
Easier than that couldn't be. And so yeah, and just as final thought for whoever is listening after so much time, if they're not bored, they can get the final message which is always practice perfection, and don't look for variety, but try to do better whatever you're doing right now. You won't get bored by results. And was not written anywhere, just came up here.
Yeah, I like it. Well, thanks again for being on, and thanks Alberto Galazzi for I thought about having you on, but I figured you're probably so busy, and so I was gonna get to sending you a message anyway. But he's a really good guy. He actually helped spread my show quite a bit. Something that I thought was really cool with him was I could see that not only did he share it, but then I saw TACFit this and this shared it, TACFit this and this shared it. I could see that there was just this, it was exploding. And when you look at my numbers on my analytics, there's a big spike. And there's a lot of as I put the show out, it goes up, and then a couple days over, it goes back down, and then it goes up as I put out a new show. But there's the biggest spike on the whole thing is Alberto Galazzi, and it's probably because of him, but also because of whoever he surrounds himself with. And so he has he was really, really cool guy to have on. And so he hooked me and you up. And then he, with Mara, UFC fighter, Mauro Romero Barella. And I've had UFC trainers on, but never anybody that was in the UFC. He hooked me up with her. She was really cool. And so he's like, big thanks to him. And and it just really goes to show me how much it matters, like who we surround ourselves with and promote each other. Cause it's not like, I learned it's not like a competition. Like there's a StrongFirst trainer right down the road from me. I had him on the show. He can promote his business on my show. I don't see him as my competition. I mean, someone might be able to see it that way. So somebody might choose him over me. Okay, well, I have no problem with him. If you want to work with him, he's great. So the more I see it, the more, and he helps me because to have people at this level on the show. And so the more I see it, like, and StrongFirst is kind of the same way. You kind of develop this bond. If you've been through the certification, if you've been there, you know what it's like. It's kind of like if you're doing martial arts with somebody, you can have a really respect for like your friend, but it's another thing when you did some hard grappling or you did some hard kickboxing. It doesn't matter who won or who lost, or maybe they're not very good at all and you're awesome, or like this, the respect that, you came you stepped on the mat, you know what it's like. And so just like this real like brotherhood and sisterhood, so it's really cool to be part of StrongFirst. And from the moment that I, kind of similar to you, when I pulled that book off the library shelf and I'm reading about these guys, and then now it's like I'm one of them, and I don't feel like I'm at the highest level. I mean, I look at you, I'm like reading stuff that you're doing, and it's like, man, I have a long way to go. I have so much to learn, but I'm on the right track, and I can prove it. And so it's really cool. So I appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy with.
Well, I've been traveling, so that's why I couldn't do it before, but I love doing this stuff. And by the way, I also thank Alberto because I don't know if Alberto told you, but we're really good friends. And by the way, this Sunday, I'll be at his team leader meeting, co-teaching something with Alberto. And Alberto will be a guest at our StrongFirst Leadership meeting in a couple of weeks, by the way. So again, see, we're two different schools. However, we respect each other and we promote each other. I mean, Alberto had so much StrongFirst to spread in Costa Rica, for instance, in Brazil, and in Spain. And we're doing the same for him. Because again, competition sometimes just a killer of knowledge. I mean, if you're self-confident, you're doing well, or you're delivering, you're not afraid that someone's going to leave you. You're happy if someone goes to see someone else because you want them to learn more. And Alberto and I learn from each other all the time. And by the way, also Alberto knows very well Pablo. Sometimes we hang out together. So and I, by the way, I just had a couple of messages changed with him right before our podcast here today. So yes, thank you, Alberto. And again, something that Alberto has been creating is a community, and which is what we created in StrongFirst, and what we want to develop. It's as you said, brotherhood and sisterhood under strength, which is we just help each other. If you're strong and if you're self-confident, I'm talking about physical strength, strong as a person, self-confident, you're not afraid of competition, and you are not afraid of losing your customers, your students, or anything like it. You are open to share. You're open to share because you're self-confident. You're not afraid of anything. And one of the most beautiful things about this community is that, I travel the world, and it's like being home all the time. You should take a chance sometime to go and assist some international events. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. Well, we'll see you at the Dome. I'll get you to know some people over there.
Yeah, maybe sometime I can get into like assisting, and I did plan on moving up in the ranks, and I've seen like the emails before, like if you want to be an assistant, you can apply. You have to, but yeah, I would definitely like to get in on that. And I mean, of course, I love teaching this stuff, but also like be held to another level. Like, okay, now you're teaching at an instructor certification. You keep doing this. and you need to like tweak this. Oh, cool. Okay, great. Now I understand.
The experience when you assist is that, first of all, you learn how to teach at a different level, higher level, first. Second, you get to know people from different countries. You'll make some friends you'll never lose. Third, from the other side, you get to learn things you couldn't get when you attended the survey. First of all, because it's the second time, and you can digest only so much information at once. So the second time you get those details that you missed the first one, but also you see them from different aspects because you don't, different angle, because you don't have the stress of the test and everything else. So you just enjoy the instruction. And also we do refine, we do sharpen the blades. So every year there's something new, there's something different, there's something that's improved. But also at the Dome, you were until Team Summers, and maybe I taught the swing, someone else taught the get up. And probably when you did it, Mark Chang taught the get up. But then you assist and you'll find a different master who teaches the swing, and a different team leader who teaches the get up, and so on. And what happens is that you get to learn the same things taught in a different way, from different perspective, with different focuses. And it's, still, I teach a couple of certifications per month. And I still learn every single time something new. So if you get a chance to assist, just do it. Don't miss it. Apply and assist. You're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, I definitely will. Well, cool. Well, I will let you go, and I really appreciate you coming on. And I will, if I don't talk to you before, I'll see you at the Dome. I'll be the guy with kettlebell.
Exactly. I'll see you at the Dome, and if not, you got my email, so I'm here. So thank you for hosting me. Thanks everyone for listening for such a long time. I hope we didn't bore you. Hope not. And look forward to next time. And see you at the Dome. Thank you so much again.
All right. Thanks. I'm going to stop the recording, and I'll talk to you for a second when I hit pause.